Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the lineup. I am your host, Joel Pelachik, and I'm joined by our two analysts, Mr. Ryan Croke and Mr. Jake Sumner Bowen. We had a great weekend.
I had to throw the middle name in there, I guess.
I had to throw the middle name.
You got Samuel over there, but...
All right, Jake. We had a great weekend, a great past few days of sports, a lot of exciting things happening, including 3 top 10 teams going down in college football. We saw the playoff rankings come out as well. We're not going to touch on that too much, but always an exciting time of year. The New York Jets made a few crazy trades. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. And the Dodgers win the World Series by literal inches. So let's start with college football. Number 20 Texas hosts number 9 Vanderbilt. They just sneak away with a 3-point victory. And you know what Arch Manning has said all season? The lights are too bright, turn them off. And he completely got that with YouTube TV and Disney not reaching this deal. Awesome. He got what he wanted, and he came up big against Vanderbilt. Jake, what is your main takeaway?
Yeah, all jokes aside, Arch Manning played his best game of the season. 328 yards, 3 touchdowns. They were up 24-10 at the half. He was really electric from the start. I think being home at his home stadium helps. But I think Texas now, if Arch Manning can play this way, and the defense has always been really good this season, then they can make a run.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's your golden boy, Jake, and we've been kind of dogging on him all season. I like what you said about the lights being off, Joel, but I have to give credit where credit's due. The last 2 weeks, Arch Manning has looked like the preseason Heisman favorite we expected him to be. He's throwing nearly double his average on yards per game over his first Power 4 games. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. He's thrown 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. And Texas as a whole, compared to its first 4 Power 4 games these last 2 weeks, they're nearly doubling their points per game, hovering around 40 points a game. He's playing phenomenal football. Texas got into that number 11 spot this week with the College Football Playoff Committee releasing their first set of rankings. They can certainly make a push. They have some big games coming up. If they can win maybe just one, they can maybe sneak in.
Right. He's been playing great, but I think a lot of, his stats, he made throws all over the field, don't get me wrong, but Vanderbilt's defense, I think, was just exposed. I just don't think they're as good as people thought they were coming into this game. Texas lived off of the perimeter plays, off of screens, off of bubbles. I mean, Ryan Wingo had a 75-yard touchdown, Ryan, on the first play of the game. Yep. It was a simple swing pass to the right side of the field, and he just took it all the way. That defense they're going to have to tighten the screws if they want to make a playoff run.
Yeah, who do I know who's been saying Vanderbilt's not legit? Oh, I don't. This guy. Oh, actually, yeah. Vanderbilt's not legit. They're not making the playoff. I've been saying that all year, and this game proved it.
Listen, Joel, to oppose that a little bit, Vanderbilt only gave up 10 points in the second half, which allowed their offense to get going and to come back in this game. Yes, they lost only by 3 points, but they made it close. And obviously, you have to play a complete football game to win, but Vanderbilt showed in the second half that they can make adjustments and can hang in with some of these big teams.
Right, I agree with you. I think that's the silver lining. They had that 21-0 run in the fourth quarter. Pavia played excellently, especially with the pressure that he was getting, Ryan. He was sacked 6 times on the day, strip sack in the first quarter. But I think the real problem for Vanderbilt was rushing. They had their worst game rushing by like 80 yards almost. 58 rushing yards. You can't come into Austin and expect to win the game with 58 yards on the ground.
No. And this is why they're not going to.
Well, they're behind. I mean, Texas immediately jumped out with that first play touchdown and then 24-10 at half. So, yeah, you could argue the run. They probably should have ran it more, but they didn't really have a lead or it wasn't tied. They were down big, so they had a pass to get back in the game. Right,
that's fair. I think 58 is just a little concerning. Their second worst game was 135 against the Crimson Tide. So 58 is a little alarming for me. But let's move to Dallas, where SMU took down the number 10 Miami Hurricanes 26-20 in overtime. Ryan, are there any playoff hopes left for the Hurricanes?
No, there are absolutely zero. And, it's about time that we got to this point in the season. I knew we were coming to this point where Miami was going to eventually hit a stumble. They ended up getting to number 2 in the country earlier in the season. I didn't buy it for a second. And all of that doubt that I had was finally vindicated in this game against SMU. Carson Beck is an absolute fraud. And I want to say this. He is the Aaron Rodgers of college football. Refuses to take blame for his own mistakes. This week he blamed coaching. Against Louisville, he blamed the tight end for running the wrong route. It's never his fault in his eyes, but in everybody else's, it's always his fault. Carson Beck, you are a clown if you think that you can get away with this and lead a team to a college football playoff. When you won championships with Georgia, when you were playing well with the Bulldogs, it really wasn't you, man. It just wasn't.
Is Carson Beck one of the best college football quarterbacks ever?
No.
Aaron Rodgers is. So obviously he's not like Aaron Rodgers. But Carson Beck wasn't, we sit here, and we don't say that he's a good quarterback because he isn't. On Georgia, Stockton came in, yes, because he was injured. But really, with the Bulldogs, he didn't have that above and beyond factor to really get them to that point. And really, Georgia's defense was one of the reasons why they always stayed in games. But for me, the takeaway from this game is that the ACC is wide open. We'll get to it with the Georgia Tech game. But so many teams can win it. And this loss from Miami, I think, eliminates them from having a chance to get to that ACC title game and opens up the door for SMU to get there because of the Georgia Tech loss. We'll talk about that in a bit. But SMU, they're not SMU from last year, but they still have the potential, most of the guys back, to go on a run and to get to that title game, to have a chance at the playoff.
Right. Carson Beck has been underperforming these last few weeks, but I was really impressed by this SMU defense. They held Miami to the least amount of points they've scored all season, and before this game, they were giving up around 300 passing yards per game, and they really tightened the screws for this one. And I just wanted to touch on Beck, Ryan. You mentioned him. He is just not a leader of men, and it's as simple as that. That Louisville interception that he blamed on the tight end, he threw 4 interceptions in that game, 3 other ones. And you're going to sit here and blame the tight end for running the wrong route when you lost by 3 points? That's unacceptable if you were the quarterback of a top 10 team.
Absolutely. And you look at the stats of him in wins and then in losses. When he wins games, he's thrown 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. When he loses, it's 2 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. This guy is pretty. That tells you him playing poorly is the reason they lose these football games. And he wants to blame everyone else.
And they lost to SMU in overtime because of a horrible read by him and an interception in the middle of the field when they were, about to score. Let's move on to Georgia Tech. The undefeated ACC squad was taken down by the NC State Wolfpack 48-36. Jake, what happened to the Yellow Jackets in Raleigh?
They weren't ahead, and this Georgia Tech defense is a run identity team. They have Haynes King, who I think is the most valuable player in all of college football. If Georgia Tech doesn't have him, then they are done for. And the fact that NC State capitalized, scored on 8 of their 10 drives, Georgia Tech was behind for all the game. They didn't lead once, and so when you don't have that run identity, you force Haynes King to throw, which he's pretty good at, but it's a tough uphill battle for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, a game like this just shows you how far behind the ACC is in comparison to the Big Ten and the SEC. Guess how many yards of offense were tallied in this game? Guys?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,100.
Over 1,100 yards of offense.
Unbelievable.
NC State nearly 600. You cannot win games if you're giving up 600 yards to NC State and expect to do anything come playoff time. I still think, and the sad thing is, really, for the ACC, I still think Georgia Tech's the best team in the conference. And I don't trust anybody else more than that. And you give up 600 yards to NC State, and you just have no defense to speak of whatsoever. I agree with you 100% about Haynes King, over 500 scrimmage yards. He had 103 of 151 Georgia Tech rushing yards. This is supposed to be a run-first team, and they don't have any help from anybody else other than Haynes King. Shout out to Haynes King. I mean, he is keeping that team afloat. I do love Brent Key. Listen, this is a stumble in the road for the Yellow Jackets. I think that every team gets at least one of these type of games, but Georgia Tech has no room for error now in that ACC title game race. It's going to get very tight. They have to win out. I still think they can do it, but we'll see what happens.
Right, yeah. Haynes King played excellently, and I really like that. It kind of sums up the ACC. Their defense looked atrocious. They didn't even force a turnover, and the Wolfpack scored a season high against Power 4 opponents. That's all we have for college football, but coming up next, we have some excellent NFL recaps from a great slate.